welcome to the Sorry That I Came Too Fast podcast. I am your host, comedian Will I.T.
I am your other co-host, Chris Bazemore, comedian, entertainer.
And this is Sorry I Came Too Fast. And we have a special guest today.
Very special.
You ever give you her portfolio or bio?
Oh, well, can I tell the people about our guest?
Please do.
So before I tell the people who this person is and what she does and why she's very special, I would like to tell you how I met her. Okay. So I threw a show before the world was, in chaos. It was called Sex, Comedy, and Rock and Roll. Well, sex, yeah. It was actually forget the show. It's been that long, guys. But I believe, the show featured burlesque dancers. It featured all kinds of things, right? Rock and roll, music, and this was one of our burlesque dancers. I didn't select the burlesque dancers because I never knew any of the burlesque dancers. I don't even know anyone in that field. So when she was introduced to me, she was nothing but a sweet person, nice, calm, and gracious, very accommodating, because she went last and she still was on point. And then she performed. And I don't want to give too much of it because this may be a part of her set, but I will tell you this. It involved pussies eating people. That's how I read it. But this is burlesque dancer, dominatrix, just all around badass. She's also an actress. She does like sideshow stuff. She's great. Reina Terror. Everybody, make some noise. I know we don't have things, but let's clap it up for you. Nice. How you doing?
Nice. How are you?
I'm doing excellently. I'm doing a lot better now that I'm talking to some humans, even though it's not 3D. It's definitely a change from the usual. So I'm hanging in there. No complaints.
Nice. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Hell's Kitchen, New York City, which is where now, fortunately, I got lucky. But yeah, I'm a born and raised New Yorker.
Nice. So I feel like you guys are both from New York. I feel like the only outsider.
As you are. And you should feel like an outsider.
I'm originally from Texas. So what have you been up to during the quarantine? How are things going in quarantine for you?
It's going all right. It started off a little oddly because I was doing a rock opera out at Coney Island, which was like huge, and I was so excited about. And literally, the last rehearsal before our opening night weekend, everything got shut down. So all suddenly just stopped that I've been working on. So it's a little bit of a shock. And definitely had some like ups and downs throughout. Like last week, I just wasn't feeling motivated at all. I was just smoking way too much weed and like barely the couch. But the weed does help with the restlessness. But yeah, trying to like not focus too much on the bad stuff that's going on, other than taking precautions when I have to go get groceries and stuff, and trying to just focus on what I can do right now. So I'm just trying to focus on, now that I have all this time to work on my own stuff, or basically kind of whatever I want to in my own time, but trying to utilize that.
Oh, that's great. I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what is your sexual orientation?
I'm primarily heterosexual with bisexual tendencies. I'm picky with girls, but I have had relationships with them in the past, so I guess bisexual.
Okay.
That tracks.
Yeah, or heteroflex. Heteroflex can be, yeah.
Heteroflexible. I like that better, actually. Yes.
Yeah.
So good job, Will. Good word. You pulled that word something. It's like you had a hat beside you and you were just waiting. He was like, I'm going to use this word one day in life.
I studied it 3 years ago. I was like, I'm going to have a good time for it. I'm going to pull it out when nobody's looking.
Good job.
So heteroflex. So what was your first experience with the woman? Was it something that you persuaded, or was it something that she persuaded you?
Wow. My first experience was, with a female friend of mine when we were like 11 or 12, probably 12. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a Scorpio. I'm not necessarily super into astrology, but I do have that tendency, according to most people. Yeah, and she was the first woman to ever go down on me.
Yeah.
So we kind of like fool around and, you know, touching and kissing and like heavy petting. And actually sometimes we wrote each other like little sexy notes. And we played games and we had sleepovers and like my mom went to bed. We found my mom's old VHS porn in like a drawer and we put it on. And one of us would pretend to be like the hooker and the other girl would pretend to be like the dude. And we would do like weird role playing things, I guess. So that was my first sexual experiences with my girlfriends when I was younger.
And that's a beautiful thing because one, it gives you the safety of knowing like some people's first sexual experience wasn't, you know, great. So they have this dark cloud over it, but yours was with somebody that you trusted. So there's an openness about sex for you because you've had, you know, a great start to it. So that's
true. And we're still friends.
I was about to ask that. I was literally going to ask. But I do like the fact that when you were telling about the stories, I thought growing up in the hood of Brooklyn that we played these wild games, but to know that you guys were also doing in Hell's Kitchen, there was also hookers and stuff. We played a game called Maury, right? Where we would essentially act out Maury growing up, and like someone was the baby father, and someone it was never me. I was never the baby father because I can never do backflips. I can never perform the task. We did Jerry Springer, which I've played every character on that, including a few trans, just to spice it up. Yeah, so to know that I'm not the only one with a fucked up childhood is great. Thank you.
Where I was
playing
from,
fucked up games.
we couldn't play dress up where I was from. We would get beat, so that wasn't happening. We played weird games where I'm from. We played stuff like open chest, where if you walk past somebody who didn't have their chest covered, you just like punched them in the chest. And that went for girls played too. We had women that played too that would just walk by and punch you open chest. And we played. Like when we had like school dances, all of the kids went on the side of the building and no one was inside of the dance. We were like little fast kids trying to go around there and finger pop somebody or something, but no one wanted to go to a dance. Everyone wanted to. The first girl I fingered was actually in computer class. That was my first girl. And then I actually got a degree in computer science later on. So maybe it had something to do with my love for computers because I figured a girl in computer.
I think that definitely tracks. So, after that experience, how long before it was a male?
Let's see. Probably a couple years. Because like when I first started fooling around with my female friends, like it was still kind of prepubescent. Like none of us had gotten our periods yet. Like we didn't even have tits yet. It was very like innocent and exploratory and just kind of, and I feel like it wasn't until post-puberty that, oh no, actually I French kissed this kid in 6th grade, Truth or Dare. Hold on. We were sharing blow pop. We were like, if I suck on this blow pop, I'm going to dare you to suck on it after, and like stupid shit like that. So my first French kiss, he was gay as the day is long, though. I didn't know that either. But but I had like a kiss or something, but nothing serious until a couple years later, probably till like 13.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I remember my first kiss as well. It was around that same age. I think it was Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare has made a lot of French kissing. This is crazy. I do. So knowing your past a little bit, right? What led you to do burlesque, or what came first, burlesque or dominatrix?
Well, my history is weird. So I was always a performer. I was an actor first, and then I switched to being an art major in like high school to take a break from it. And while I was in high school, I moved out early. I was one of those kids that couldn't wait to start doing shit on my own. So when I was like 15, I moved out with a roommate to Williamsburg, back when you could get places for cheap. I just go to school, go to work, and then go there. So he did Sideshow. I worked in a tattoo shop with him. So the tattoo shop introduced me to body play and to BDSM and to body modification and a whole host of new things that I had never really exposed to before. So that was really cool. So they would have like parties in the back of the shop, and they would do like fire play with like alcohol where, you know, you light up your partner and you put them out, but everything was safety and all that. You know, they do nude body painting, piercing, sometimes suspension, like all sorts of stuff. So that kind of got me close and around the BDSM scene. Like for a while, I actually had a little bit of a complex. I was probably about 15 when I started working there. And I noticed I had a fetish, and I didn't have a fetish. So for the longest, I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't have a like, what's my fetish? Like, you know, spanking or feet or something. But eventually I learned to say it to like a little bit of, you know, a little bit of a mix, I guess. But yeah, so that kind of, it all kind of came together, the BDSM, and then my roommate from that tattoo shop did Sideshow. He was called the Reverend Be Dangerous. So he introduced me to glass walking and all that. So it all kind of came together around that time, I guess. So the Sideshow was first. And then when I started performing regularly, oftentimes I'd be booked within burlesque shows as the variety portion. And then as it progressed, when I was younger, I was much more self-conscious about showing parts of my body. And I don't know, also when I was younger, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do when I was older. And back then it was a little more stigmatizing. Like, if, you know, you showed your tits and people found out, they might not hire you. I don't know. So I was a little paranoid. So it took me a couple of years to get more comfortable with showing my body, especially when with cell phones and all that stuff. Doing it like one-on-one's a little different. Yeah. But yeah, as I got a little older, you know, I got much more comfortable with it, and then started mixing Sideshow and burlesque. And now I do them. Yeah, I do both of them. So.
Okay.
No, that's awesome.
Do you find that guys are weird with you after a burlesque show, or how are you received after the burlesque show?
Not so much after burlesque. I mean, it's kind of what you'd expect. Like sometimes you'll get creeps that just maybe they don't realize how they're coming off or whatever. You know, it can be a little off-putting. But I guess I get more of a reaction after Sideshow stuff, like, you know, because a lot of times the costuming is very specific. Like, you know, I'll have like a leather corset and fishnets. So as soon as I walk off, a lot of people will ask me if I'm a dominatrix or all of that stuff. And so it's, you know, that's probably the most. Or I always get like, how does fire taste? Or does this hurt? Or how'd you do that? You know.
I got you.
Oh man.
All right.
That's really interesting, man. I know that the burlesque world was very like new to me. So when I met you, that was like honestly my third time ever seeing burlesque. I saw it the show before, and then I saw it one time previous. And I tried so hard to like not come off as creepy, because it was also in a small space, man. So like the performers would perform and then just sit down next to you essentially, and it's like, you did well.
Try not to stare.
I think as long as people are coming from a genuine place, most people will sense that, and you're not going to be creepy. It's the people like purposely like lurking to like pounce on you for whatever reason that it's, you know, it gets weird. But, you know, I think a little, you know, if people are feeling awkward or something, I think it's cute. Like that's not awkward. It's adorable.
I had a girl at my garden, so I'm a gardener, and a lot of women are a part of my garden group. I had a girl at my garden who yesterday, she had a shirt on like it had been washed a couple times, and she just had her nipples taped. So the shirt was not really covering anything, and you could just see the nipples, but we were having a serious gardening conversation. We're talking about, you know, what we're planting and landscaping, and I'm a guy, so I'm trying my best to keep eye contact, but I'm just like, come on, man. You know, I'm doing the best that I can. You know, I tried to, I guess, gaze, you know, I mean, she's very free, you know, whatever. She walks around the garden with no shoes on. She likes being in contact with her. She's very free, and she doesn't mind. But just me as a person, when I'm having a conversation, I intentionally try not to be a creep. Because I'm a guy, and I'm a larger guy. Like me and Chris are both really like tall guys, whatever. So it's even worse when you're a larger guy and you come off as a creep, because people already have a little bit of intimidation compared to coming off as the friendly giant, a lovable teddy bear. Those are the right marks that you want to be when you're our size.
Yeah. Another question about that. Do you find that people treat you differently knowing this? Like, especially in the dating realm, when they know that you do things like this, do they go, all right, you got to either quit that to be with me?
Yeah, that's funny. It seems to be, I definitely have had that issue before. And for a while I had a rule that like I didn't want people coming to see me perform until we were already dating for a while, so that happened. But yeah, I've had guys that loved it, that got up about, I go with their friends and be like, oh my God, she's fire and she does this and it's fucking awesome. And then a couple months down the road, they just want to like lock me in a box and keep me to themselves. And like, I'm out doing my thing and all of a sudden it's not okay anymore. And they try and shut it down. So yeah, that's definitely happened. And that definitely didn't work out for them.
Yeah. I think that happens with both men and women, though. I think like sometimes women meet a guy, he's out, he's doing shows, he's living it up, he's having fun, he's sociable, and they like that. And then the same thing with men, when they first meet a woman and she's out and all the men in the room want to talk to her and they just like, it's the excitement about it. But I think as it goes on, like as an entertainer, Chris, you can verify as an entertainer, when you start dating someone, they love bringing their friends to your shows. And then their friends come back to your shows without them. And then it's kind of like an awkward feel. And then it's just like oh, you're going to go do another show? Oh, you're not getting, saying this much for the show. Why are you doing? So then it becomes I think that's a human nature. The same stuff that you found attractive originally, when you start seeing other people find it attractive, it's kind of this standoffishness about it for whatever reason.
I definitely agree. And I think it is 100 times different, of course, for you and in your world, because your world is innately a little bit more sexual, right? Mm-hmm. I'm doing stand-up with my clothes on. Generally, that's where they stay. Maybe I'll take my jacket.
You didn't do that one show where you...
I did strip once, but it was a part of the show that we were like. It was a variety show, and my co-host his mother was in the crowd, and she pulled out $1, and I was like, that
got it too.
Felt like it was all on me at that point. I had to do something.
You pulled your magic mic out?
I wanted to. I 100% wanted to. I wish I would have known I was going to do that. Probably would have prepped a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was perfect yet. That's the scary thing. You don't know if it's going to be right.
All right. So the domination. So I myself I'm a dom, and I kind of just came that way because I was originally told that I was a natural dom, and I didn't know that. I'm just a football player, and I'm aggressive with a lot of stuff in life. I mean, that's just how I grew up. So that's how I kind of got it. I found a couple people that coached me. They were like, I like something that I see in you, so we're gonna, do this or whatever. How did you get into dominatrix, and what is your likes and dislikes about it?
Well, I first got into it years ago, probably a couple years after I first started performing with Sideshow. When I was doing more burlesque shows, a lot of the other women and my friends in the scene, a lot of them were sex workers in all different shapes and forms. So some of them were dancers, some of them were doms. And a friend of mine at one of the shows worked at a dungeon downtown, and they had a client, and it was real easy. I was really young. I was probably barely 18. So I was like, I was really intrigued, but I was also a bit trepidatious about what I was getting myself into. So they had a party coming up for a dude that was a human carpet. And he was basically paying all of us, I don't know, like $500 to hang out while he was rolled up in a carpet that only had eye holes right here, like a slit that was cut open. So you couldn't see any of him except for that. You could walk on him, you could sit on him, you could do whatever you wanted. You also didn't have to. You didn't even have to walk on him or sit on him. and they provided like champagne and caviar and shit like that, which I don't eat caviar, but the champagne was good. And yeah, it was $5. It was like me and 5 or 6 other girls. That was my first gig, and I was just like, oh, like this is not bad, you know, this isn't bad at all. So more after that, but I had a couple sessions that started to make me feel a little uncomfortable. This dungeon, initially I worked as a switch. So depending on what the client wanted, I would dom them. And I also tried subbing a couple times, which I quickly realized was not for me, especially in this environment. Because some of the dudes would try, you know, you're only in the room with you and the guy. There's people outside. But I found some of them would try to push boundaries and try to make me do things that I didn't want to do, and stuff like that. So I kind of got out of it again fairly quickly. But then I also started meeting more and more people and hanging around the scene more. And rather than doing dungeons, I started making more connections just on my own. And that worked out really well for me.
Okay.
That's awesome. As someone who has a hand in that world, and I always respect people's origin stories, and that's probably the best origin story. A carpet. I've heard some stories. I heard a guy took his woman, who then later became a fixture in that world, took his woman there just to show her, like, hey, this is what it is. And before you know it, now she has a clientele. She has all kinds of things now. Now she has multiple subs, and it's a different world. And I've tried subbing too, so it's aggressive. I don't think I'm not personally built for that. So I respect, and I want to give a shout out to all the subs, both male, female, and everything in between, and outside the lines, inside the lines. It doesn't matter. Salute to you people.
Well, it's funny, for me, I find professionally, I prefer doming, but when it comes to myself personally in my own sex life, I'm usually more of a sub. But I find that to be fairly common, just in general, like people that are in control and doing a lot of things and have a lot of responsibilities in their day-to-day life and are already dominant in their day-to-day life. I find in the bedroom, they tend to be more submissive because it's like kind of the only place they can. Hence, a lot of clientele is like, you know, like upper middle class men that, you know, CEOs, people that make a lot of money and have a lot of pressure on them. Like my one sub now, like now I only see one sub. We've been seeing each other for years, and it works out very well. So I haven't needed anyone else, but, and I love her, but, she, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Yeah. So you were talking about your one sub. And how you don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
Is this starting to bring? Or do I have to go back a little further?
It'll spark again. With the one sub. So a lot of times, I feel like for dudes, it is very hard for us to relinquish power. So I'm very interested to hear what kind of you said very powerful dudes are into relinquishing power. Do you find it's more like white guys or older guys or younger guys, or which one is it more that's willing to relinquish power?
It's been a while since I've worked in dungeons, but yeah, in my past experience, a lot of them were older, middle-aged, upper middle-aged white dudes. That was power. So like my sub now is retired, 70-year-old white male, but he's also married, and him and his wife have an agreement, a don't ask, don't tell agreement. But they do have an agreement, but she's aware. And when we hang out, he primarily dresses as a female and does consider himself trans, but he would never transition as long as his wife is still around stuff for her sake. But yeah, he's a retired professional. He worked in law and stuff like that. So, yeah, I basically found that to be kind of a running theme for the most part.
Okay.
It does seem that way. A lot of times, I think that's the stereotype of it, right? The older white male.
Definitely.
And yeah, no, I went to a black only like kind of BDSM party, and to see like black men in a like submissive role, I've never seen that in my life, and it blew my mind for at least 30 minutes. I was just like, because of that stereotype. That stereotype has always been.
Yeah, anytime I've ever went to a play party, I've always seen middle-aged older white guys at the parties. When the weird part the black guys that I've never came in contact with most of the time are the bulls, the single guys that just stand around and wait to. It's like a lot of black guys for some reason don't bring their mate to those parties or whatever. Probably because of like what Chris said earlier. One guy brings their mate, and their mate comes back without them, and they're just like, I don't need you for this anymore. And that's kind of a genuine fear. Do you ever let couples or dominate couples together, man and woman? Is that something that you would be willing to or have done in the past?
Yeah, I've never been hired to do a couple, but I've definitely gone to play parties where I've seen and interacted with couples for sure. And I do want to note that a lot of the play parties I've gone to more recently are way more mixed than they used to be. You do have a little more than it was like, like 10, 15 years ago or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to anything, honestly, not anything, to an extent. Like, I'm not real big on like water sports and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't do those either.
But as far as,
I have
different kinds of dominating, different kinds of people, like, I'm open to trying it out. Like, it can't hurt. If it's not my thing, it's not my thing. But, as long as it's people, I think it'll be fun.
What is your specialty within that? Are you more corporal when you're doming, or are you more like what is your?
I'm not corporal. No, I'm not. I'm kind of I guess my nature is too sweet. Like, and I try to be kind of sometimes, but it's not. Well, I guess I can play. Like sometimes, I'll play with it, but I'm definitely more loose than that. Like, yeah, I'm not good at corporal for sure. I'm more tender. I like to check in and make things are good. Once I know things are good, though, then I don't mind fucking blah, 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 blah. But like, I tend to do a lot of checking in, a lot of little breaks. So I like, so I might, I'm not the dom for everybody for sure. Like, I'm not just like 100% serious the whole entire time. Like, I want us to have fun and like, do the energy.
And last thing, what is the one fetish that is an automatic no? It doesn't matter how much money in the world. What is always a no fetish for you?
Well, like there's three that popped like up immediately in my head, which is like scat, like no, thank you. Anything scatological I can't do. I did know a girl, my old friend, who loved brown showers, and she would like come home thrilled when she got to do them. They had a chair at the dungeon that was set up with a hole, and the guy's head went underneath, and not my thing. But that, anything bestiality, like nope. And obviously anything with like underage people or non-consensual. But otherwise, I'm pretty open, and even if it's not my thing, like I'm not going to judge you if it's your thing, because different folks, different strokes. So
same.
Well, you said any amount of money involved. I think I have the same answer. If it's any amount of money involved, yeah, I have everything on the everything on the table. Just be gentle. You know what I'm saying?
I think I have to agree with all with all those answers.
So what are your when you get into, so for me, what I find with the when it comes to doms, there is a certain part that is the fun part to me, and that's the sexual domination. Then there's another part that's not as fun, and that's some people that are your subs completely want you to plan out their life. They want you to plan out their schedule. They want you to make sure that and if they don't do it, then they want to be treated as a brat, and they want you to punt. And it's just like the more and more time that it takes, it's more than a relationship. It's more like a daddy little type situation when you're looking at that type. Do you find that with your subs that they want you to go so much further than you're willing to go?
Yeah, subs that have done that, we parted ways, you know, because it's got to be a match like any relationship, I feel like, even if it's just sub-dom and it's not sexual and it's just dom or whatever, any mix in between. I feel like the chemistry and the want has to be there, because if you don't care for the person, you're not going to want to do any of that. Like you said, that's a lot of fucking work. It's like having like, and brats are definitely a challenge. Like there's a lot that goes into having a, you know, treating your brat well. But I've definitely experienced requests for that. I remember like a couple of years ago, I was on Tinder and there was a dude who very explicitly in his profile was looking for a dom and da-da-da. And I think he was looking for positive. He wanted to the point where he gave you his paycheck every week and you paid all the bills and all of that. And I, you know, I thought about it. I sat the phone down. He messaged me. I'm like, okay, so let's like run through how this would go. And I was like, yeah, that's the opposite of what I want. I want to be able to chill and have downtime. And with someone like that, even if they're paying like, you know, obviously if it's a lot of money, you know, it's different. But it's also an equation of like, what's it worth to you? Because that's sucking all your time. And you kind of have to be accessible and at the ready 24/7 unless you set up really strict boundaries and stuff. So yeah, that was a little more effort than I was willing to put in for someone that I, you know, didn't know and all of that. I like something a little more in the middle. With when it's appropriate and we're all good, we can definitely do that and be in touch a lot or dom a lot or whatever or play. But you know, shit happens too, and it's okay to like take a breather as well. So
yeah, no,
24/7 is a lot.
Yeah, 100%. How's your aftercare? Being that you do participate as a sub in your personal life, do you have a strict aftercare routine?
I do not. No. I mean, I guess it would depend on the partner, but yeah, no, not really. I mean, I'm pretty easy when it comes to that. I'm pretty chill. Yeah, as long as I'm satisfied and I'm happy, you know, I'm happy to just sit there and sit in my pheromones and soak it up.
There's nothing like a aftercare that's aggressive, like a bit much. You know?
I'm particular about spanking. Like I'm not into pain. I'm not a masochist. So like when I get spanked, I need the rub after. Like, so it tingles to this thing. Like, I'm about things like that. But otherwise, I'm pretty loose.
Do you bruise easy? Do you like the bruises or no bruises at all? You don't want any
marks and stuff?
Yeah, I'm usually not a huge fan of marks because I'm a performer. So, you know, I've got a couple photo shoots where I see like bruises from, I mean, already when I bartended and just, you know, being a human who's like a klutz sometimes and banging your shin and shit and just being pale so bruises really stand out. I tend to get them pretty easily. So I have a friend though who loved it. Her partner was very corporal dom and their favorite paddle was the type that has the holes in it.
Oh,
and
yes.
She was not satisfied until she had
the wind behind them. That's what
and she'd have like bloody welts, like that girl's ass, but she loved it. She was like, every time I sit down and it hurts and it reminds me. I mean, I love that for her, but yeah, that's not my thing. I already get enough pain when I like stick nails at my nose and do fire and walk on glass.
Yeah, that'll do it. that'll definitely do it.
Now, if we do have we have a couple segments. This one particular segment that I would love to get into is called This Week in Sex. All right, and basically it's an article that we've read and found out, and we would love to share and get your opinions on. All right?
Let's do it.
This particular article I found is a year old. Just letting everyone know it's not a new thing, but it's new to me. So just want to put that out there before someone who listens to this goes, hey, I heard that before. I read that.
No.
All right. So the article I read was about, so it's this, have you ever heard of New York Jacks?
Jacks?
No. Yes.
You talking about like the things you drop and you pick them up at Jacks like that?
Well, it's spelled the same way, yes. Certainly.
Okay.
So New York Jacks is a group where guys get together and jerk off in front of each other. Next week on part 2.
fact that he was concerned about me and my dick leaving without coming out for the day, it was concerning as hell.
I'm not taking the kink, just the flavor weirds me out. Like, I remember actually when I was like 12 or 13, asking a girlfriend of mine who was like 16 or 17 what cum tasted like, because she had a boyfriend.
We have sex, everything, right? And afterwards, we turn the lights on. My face is red.